Hello, welcome back to the channel. We are at the start of another week and I'm just plotted up here on the sofa getting my work done. I kind of alternate between the office and the sofa just as I feel. And I'm quite tired, I must admit, this week. I think it was because just had a lot of travel, just not enough sleep basically over the last sort of few days, and it's caught up with me a little bit. So this week in the video, I'm going to talk about having your own podcast versus being a guest on other people's podcasts. What should we focus on if we're trying to promote our business? And that should be an interesting one for any business owner who's maybe considering having your own podcast, or maybe you are guesting on other people's podcasts, or maybe that's something you would like to do. I'll be talking about that. This week, mainly work-wise, is about catching up. It's about putting in those laptop hours, because if you saw the video last week, I was travelling in London, Chelmsford, for a good couple of days, which meant that I didn't get much actual sort of sit down outreach time for my clients. So I've been really just like challenging myself to get on with that this week. That's the bit that delivers results. You see all this going out and meeting people, and it's needed and it's good and it's fun, but at the same time, the actual work, which is pitching, researching, and getting information out to the right people about my clients, still needs to be done, and that is the stuff that I do from home. So this week is really all about that. I have got a little brunch later in the week. I like my brunches, and this is probably my second brunch this month, which is about normal for me. 1 to 2 brunches a month is pretty much what I can manage time wise, so I'm looking forward to that. But other than that, I'm working on getting information to a big festival that a few of my clients are speaking at. I am pitching clients to podcasts. I put a proposal together. The client that I was with last week is getting involved in another business and has asked me to potentially promote that starting in a couple of months. So I was putting a proposal together for that. I started at the airport on Friday night actually, and just finished it off earlier. So that's all going to go ahead. So all good. It's going to be another very busy week, and I shall bring you with me for some of it and at least give you a wee update on what's going on. And we'll talk about podcasts. Should you have your own podcast, or should you be appearing on other people's podcasts as guest? What is the best strategy? So I'm going to talk about having your own podcast versus appearing on other people's podcasts. If you're a business owner and you want to promote your business, grow your profile, which should you go with? Do you have to choose? I guess is the first question as well. But if we take them in order, having your own podcast, there's loads of benefits to that, in that you get the chance to build up potentially like a loyal core audience who know, like, and trust you. Basically, if you keep putting episodes out there, you keep delivering value for them, whether that's you delivering it yourself, whether that's through guests that you have on that podcast, then the audience begins to trust and really invest in what you're telling them and look forward to your podcast, so you can really build up a loyal audience, and you can obviously grow a big audience over time with your own podcast. The other thing is you can benefit from that audience in terms of, bringing them into different elements of maybe your business, maybe things that you might have to sell, maybe, surveys or data that you want to collect from them. There's loads of benefits to having a bigger audience that trusts you. And I guess the other thing about having your own podcast is you're in control of the content. You get to decide what goes out, what doesn't go out. You get to decide the topics that you cover, the guests that you have on. You get full creative sort of authority, and because of that, it's probably going to be like a really enjoyable project for you, because it's going to be basically you doing things that you've decided you want to do and talking about things that you've decided you want to do. Podcasting and having your own podcast is also a great way to sort of position yourself as a leader in your space, as someone who's knowledgeable, as someone who is the real deal, and especially in this world of AI, as that real human person that people can connect with. So again, that's a real pro. It's a good way to be seen as, over time, the go-to person in your field. So tons of benefits of having your own podcast. And actually, one more benefit of having your podcast is that you can monetize it over time. Now, do lots of people do this? Probably it will be quite a small percentage of podcasts that are monetized out of all the podcasts that exist in the world, but it is possible. So lots of benefits, but that kind of brings me on to what I would see as the con, if you like, the downside, which is to get the benefit of all of these things, you have to do one thing, and that is stick with it long enough, build and build and build through episode after episode. So you really have to be consistent, you have to be disciplined with it, you have to be committed. I mean, it's mad. 1% of people who start podcasts apparently don't make it past like 20 episodes. It sounds like a fun thing to do, it sounds like an easy thing to do, but having your own podcast is hard work. It takes planning, it takes time, it takes a level of commitment if you want to reap the benefits, if you want to get that sponsor, if you want to build that audience that you can then sell to, or whatever your plan is. You know, if you want to become that person that is the expert in your field through your podcast, you have to show up consistently over time. I'm talking years, probably without seeing the results for a lot of that time. So you have to be prepared for that when you're going in, and have your eyes wide open that this is not a case of just recording a few episodes and then suddenly you've got a sponsor, you're having all these amazing guests. It's a much longer game than that. And so that's why I think it's a great thing to do, but only if you're committed and you're in it for the long game. If you can see yourself still doing it in like 5 years' time, then go for it. If you think you just want to, get some episodes out there and reap the benefits, it's probably not going to work that way. On the other side of it all, we've got being a guest on other people's podcasts, and I've spoken about this loads of times. In fact, I'll put a link here to one of my previous episodes all about basically how I think businesses need to be being guests on podcasts to help promote their businesses, their profile, their personal brand. And if they're not doing that, they're missing a trick. And the reason for that is, I'll just quickly go through a few because they are in that other video, but it's a great return on your time being a guest. You don't have to spend a lot of time on it, and you can tap into an audience of like whatever it might be, 100 people, 200 people, 500 people, to tell them about your business. You're borrowing credibility from the host. The host has actually done the hard work, which is really cool when you're a podcast guest, because they're the ones that have created the podcast, they've built the audience, they've done all the hard work to source guests, to think of content for every episode, and you show up and you tap into the audience that they've already created, which is a super strong benefit of being a podcast guest. Not only that, but because podcasts are long form, you get a chance to show who you are, share your knowledge, and there's tons of podcasts out there, which is brilliant for being a guest, because there's podcasts for every single niche that you could possibly think of. So being a podcast guest is probably a way of getting a quicker win, which is why it's something that I really focus on for my clients. My PR clients, some of them do have their own podcasts and some of them don't, but they all come to me for being guests on podcasts. They want more guest slots on podcasts. And actually these days, if you've got your own podcast, you can do like a podcast swap where, someone appears on your podcast as a guest, you appear on their podcast as a guest, and it works out quite nicely for both. Don't forget, if you're appearing on someone else's podcast, they get the content sort of authority and the final say on what goes out there. They own the audience, not you. So again, you have to think of the pros and the cons. Do we have an answer? in an ideal world, do both. Have your own podcast, be a guest on other people's podcasts, but just be aware of the benefits and the difficulties in both. Well, today has been one of those days where I don't even know where the time's going. I feel like, apart from my brunch that I went out for earlier, I have barely lifted my head from either my phone or my laptop. It's been just one of those manic days where everything's all happening at once. There's articles being published, there's people sending me information about podcasts, there's people accepting clients on as podcast guests. I've got a client who is recording quite a big podcast tomorrow, and then he's interviewing those podcast hosts for his podcast, so it's like double podcast recording. We haven't got a studio because it's been hastily arranged at the last minute, so this afternoon I've literally been like ringing round my contacts to see if we can get a podcast studio in London, because all the other ones that we knew were booked up, because obviously it's for tomorrow, it's such short notice. So anyway, managed to get one. I'm so relieved. What else has been going on? Had a call with a client who I'm starting work with in August, so had to do some prep for that, had to do some stuff after it, so that's good. I'm looking forward to getting started with them. They are a big organisation, really, not kind of like my usual clients, although I do have a few bigger companies, but yeah, a lot of my clients are like individuals who are experts in their fields and they want to grow their own profile and things, so it'd be nice to work for like a big business again. What else have I been doing? Well, also on a personal level, I'm probably going to be buying the flat that I live in, which I currently rent. It's about to go on the market and I'm getting the chance to purchase it, so doing like loads of paperwork for getting that all sorted, and it's all just kind of ramped up this week, so my goodness, honestly. So I think it's about 6 o'clock. I went out for my jog this morning at 6:15 and I think we're not far off 12 hours later and I'm out just getting some fresh air. I feel like I have not even had a minute to stop and think, so after I finish speaking to you, I am going to walk around in silence for a little bit, and then I'm going to get a few bits from the shop and go and get some dinner and try and have a bit more of a chilled night. So yeah, it's Thursday. It's been another super quick week, but yeah, good one. There's tons happening, tons and tons. Friday afternoon, school pickup, and honestly, see, this country sometimes. Living in Scotland is amazing in lots of ways. Beautiful scenery, so green and lush because of all the rain that we get. But do you know, I've been spending so much time like reading about this heat wave that's on its way to the UK, and honestly, it's literally like 15 degrees and raining. Middle of June, summer. Anyway, not to complain, but yes, it is a bit frustrating sometimes living in Scotland when you just think, oh come on, just give us a bit of nice weather. Everything's better when the weather's good. Anyway, it's been just another whirlwind week. Honestly, I feel like I say it every week, but this week we've had some nice PR wins. I have had a few media articles published for different clients, which I will share here. I've also got a couple of articles that should come out for both for the same client. Actually, one's an interview that client did last week, and it should be out this weekend, and one is an article that the same client has written for a different newspaper, a national newspaper in Scotland, so that I'm just waiting, that should be out any time. Also been testing this AI tool that we're building for Storm Safe Crisis Communications to help people plan, you know, basically create a crisis PR plan using AI that we are training just purely from our own experience. So it's not pulling loads of things from the internet, it's just literally using our 45 years combined experience to know what to do, you know, what to prepare for, the different things you need to have in place for a PR plan. So that's taken ages, not gonna lie. It's you think you've got it, but because it's AI, it just kind of comes up with its own mad suggestions, and it deviates and it tries to be overly helpful, and it's almost just like the hard thing is just getting it to just follow what you're asking it to do and stick to a very, very clear template. So that's been taking up a bit of time. Not sure what else I've been doing, to be honest. Just loads of sorting out of things for clients, pitching, following up, just all the usual stuff. So ready for the weekend as always, hoping that this weather will clear up a little bit. But I hope you found this video useful. If you did, make sure you like and subscribe. Please do. I really appreciate you watching. If you've made it to this point in the video, then well done, and I very much appreciate you. And yeah, I shall see you next time.